Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today we're gonna be taking a look at the F-8E Crusader. Currently, it's the only tier 6 aircraft in the US Navy line and it costs around 11,000 coins. So let's not waste any more time and get into some gameplay. In this clip, I gained some altitude after spawning in and was easily able to get onto the enemy 6. If there were more people in this server, I would have easily been able to go unnoticed, since an average Ruins of Glory player doesn't look behind or above them. However, in this situation, only one person is not looking behind them, as the other one is already turning into me. I launched the missile at the guy that wasn't looking at me, and I'll end up getting the kill. But now I'll have to defend from two people at the same time. I've got an F-8E and a MiG-21 base on my 6. The F-8E is much faster because he hasn't gone vertical to try to kill me, and he launches an M9J which I was able to easily flare. It can be done without cutting her afterburner, but in this situation I didn't know that yet. So I'm gonna try to reverse the F-8E, which I'm gonna end up doing, but the MiG-21 base will come in to try to save him. I whiff this shot and I'm forced to go after the F-8E, despite him going vertical and that not being in my current interest. So I'm gonna stop going vertical and I'm gonna try to dodge the MiG-21's guns. I'm gonna have to be careful here, because his gun is very powerful and one shot burst is enough to destroy my entire plane. So, I try to reverse him, which I end up doing, and he turns into my guns, which too many people do in this game. Try to jink the enemy's shot by either going up a bit or down a bit, depending on how high you are. If you do what he did here, you're gonna end up like him, back in the hangar. Now that the MiG-21 is gone, I can focus on the F-8E, which is very slow, and does not have enough energy to run away from me, which is something that the F-8E can do against many aircraft. I'm gonna have a bit of trouble trying to kill him, but in the end I'll end up sawing his wing off. Now that the action is over, we can take a look at its performance in general. Overall, it's actually pretty decent. It has a good top and stall speed, decent turn rate and thrust to weight ratio, a mediocre roll rate, which isn't terrible, but it could be much better. You can dogfight pretty much anything, just be careful when fighting something more maneuverable than you. An example would be the F-5E. The energy retention also allows you to somewhat maintain a speed close to your optimal, so you can win a sustained turn fight against something like a Mirage or F-4E. Boom and zoom isn't the best playstyle for this aircraft. It can be done against subsonics like the American Attackers or the Alpha Jet, but otherwise you should avoid it. The same can be said for energy fighting. It can be done, but your thrust to weight ratio isn't highest in the tier, so be careful who you're trying to energy trap. Also, going slower than 500 km per hour noticeably reduces your maneuverability, so be careful not to do that. Before we get back into the gameplay, let's quickly take a look at the offensive armament. For the guns, you get 4 20mm Colt Mark 12 cannons with 500 rounds when maxed. The best ammo belt is either the air targets or stealth belt. If this is your first time playing this aircraft, I highly recommend the air targets belt, as they're easy to aim and beginner friendly. If you want to, you can switch to the stealth belt once you get used to the guns. You get a good variety of missiles and the ground ordnance, which I'll cover later in the video. And finally, the countermeasures. You get a total of 60, 30 flares and 30 chaff. It's not the most, but for tier 6 it should be enough. And now we can take a look at some gameplay again. If you pay close attention to the load that I'm currently using, I'm carrying 4 M9Ds, which are this plane's only stock missile. There are rear aspect heat-seeking only missiles that can pull a maximum of 18 Gs. They're obviously not the best missiles. Despite having a gimbal, before you launch the missile, the seeker cannot move in this gimbal, so you're gonna have to be perfectly aligned with the enemy in order to fire this missile. Now, let's take a look at an engagement I had with the same F-8E as in the beginning of this video. I start off by turning perpendicular to him, because his missiles cannot be defeated if I fly straight at him in a head-on, and by doing that, I successfully defeat his M7E2. Now, you can do the same if you don't want to get destroyed by it, and then ask the in-game chat why the M7E2 is unflareable, which I actually hope you don't mean. Anyways, let's focus back on the situation that I'm currently in. I whiff this easy shot and the F-8E decides to fly straight. I launch a missile, but he goes behind terrain to dodge it. He probably did that subconsciously because he still flared even though the missile hit the ground. I launch another missile and this one doesn't get flared, giving me a kill. And then I spot another F-8E on my 6. He fires an M9J, which I'm easily able to flare, and now all I have to do is reverse him, which won't be hard because I'm already going much slower than him. He casts his afterburner, but that will do him no good because he's already in front of me. And now all I have to do is fire my guns and he'll be sent back to the hangar. And that is another engagement with the F-4E. Alongside the M9Ds, you can also carry the M9G, which is essentially the same thing, but it has a usable gimbal and it can be radar slave. This allows you to fire a missile at the enemy even if you're not perfectly aligned with them. As long as you have a radar lock, you'll be able to acquire an infrared lock, if the enemy is close enough to you for the missile to pick up the infrared signature, of course. You also get some ground ordnance options, ranging from the 250-pound bomb to the FFR Mighty Mouse rockets. You're not able to carry them in large quantities, but if you equip two 2000-pound bombs, you should be able to take out the base, if you dropped your bombs in the right place. And now we'll take a look at an engagement I had with an F-8E. So, I start off just like with the F-4E, not directly flying towards him. I do that so that if he fires his radar missiles at me, I can easily chaff them, because if I kept flying straight at him and only chaffed, his missile would hit me. I go vertical, which isn't the best thing I could have done here, but if I can bait him into a sustained armor fight, I will end up winning because my plane is fully upgraded and his probably isn't. But I get interrupted by an F-4E, which is something that will happen very often if you play tier 6. So, the F-4E fired a radar missile at me, which I was easily able to chaff, and the F-8E is spamming his missiles at me, which, if you notice that the enemy has flared your missiles, please don't fire another one at them, because there's a very high chance he will actually flare it, and you're just gonna waste all of your missiles. I go vertical once again, which isn't the best thing I could have done here because I have much less energy than before, but he doesn't care about me anymore, and he goes for my teammate, and he ends up dying to my teammate's M9G, and that was the engagement. After respawning, I decided to switch out my bombs for some rockets, because in head-ons, if you have enough skill, you can actually get some kills from them, but that won't happen in this video. However, I won't have any luck this match with getting a rocket kill. I'll try it here, but all will miss because I fired them very poorly. And then I noticed a missile has flown past me. Judging from the type of missile it was, I'm guessing it's an F-4E. That plane is nothing too special, I've already fought many in this video, so it should be no problem fighting him. I fire a couple of missiles at the enemy and then I have enough time to deal with the F-4E. I go down, hoping that he will hit the ground, and judging from how fast he's going, he's not gonna be pulling out of that one. And now I can engage a couple other enemies. I fire a missile at the F-5E, but he's gonna end up flaring it. And the F-4E has a couple of my teammates on his 6, so there's no point in trying to missile him, because it's either gonna get flared or my teammates are gonna get him first. Now, the F-5E gives me a nice shot, which I end up whiffing, and he focuses on my teammate. I'm gonna try to get on his 6, but focus on the F-4E instead for some reason, even though he already has one of my teammates on his 6. I try to get a gun kill here, but my teammate gets him with a missile first, and now I have two enemies on my 6. A MiG-21Bs and another enemy that I didn't bother checking which aircraft he's flying, which it ends up being an F-5E. I'm gonna avoid the head-on with him. For some reason I could have easily gotten the kill here, and the MiG-21 dies in the background. I'm gonna go after the F-5E and he's gonna fly straight until I end up on his 6. Only now is he starting to turn around for me. I fire a missile at him, it's obviously not gonna hit because he's looking at me and he ends up clearing it last second. He presents himself nicely here, which gives me an easy gun solution. So that was the engagement with an F-5E, and now we can move on to the final last clips. And the final missile that this plane can carry that I still haven't covered is the M9C. It's a semi-active radar homing version of the M9D and it has the same flat performance. It's also pretty good in head-ons, where simply chaffing won't be enough to defeat it. But be careful not to fire it from too close, or the missile will not arm its warhead in time and miss the enemy, and firing it from too far away could result in the enemy having enough time to turn and chaff. The optimal firing distance would be around 3 km in head-on, of course. And now we will take a look at some more gameplay for the final time in this video. For the loadout I'm carrying 2 M9Gs, 2 M9Cs and 19 FFR Mighty Mouse rockets. And now you will see why the M9C is so good in head-ons. If the enemy flies straight, he won't be able to chaff your missiles like shown here. Now that the Mirage is gone, I can focus on the A6C, but he's flying a bit too high for me and I've got an enemy on my 6, so I'm not gonna go vertical after him. I'm gonna need to be careful of his M9Ps because if he has enough energy they can easily reach me. However, they're just M9Js with an M9M Seeker and M9L electronics, so we're gonna just ignore that and focus on the F-8E for now. I fire a couple rockets in the head-on and they all miss to no surprise. I'm gonna cut throttle here to avoid overshooting him, and he's gonna give me a very easy shot which I'll end up whiffing completely. Now all I have to do is stay on his 6 and get a gun kill. I'm gonna align myself nicely so he flashed straight into my guns and I saw his wing off. And then that's the end of the engagement. Now I'm gonna show you one final clip to show you the full potential of the M9C in a head-on. I wait for the F-8E to fully align with me, I fire a missile, and now all I have to do is keep a red lock and the missile will hit. Finally, we can place the F-8E on this tier list. I will without a doubt place it in low S tier. The performance is above average and you will win dogfights if fought correctly. The offensive armament is also pretty good, from the decent guns to the good missiles and a large variety of air-to-ground ordnance.